Welcome back to the show, good people. You heard us talk about healing a few times on the show, but today we want to focus on the pain within the process of healing when you choose to heal. Healing is not easy. If it were easy, you would see a lot more people doing it and a lot more healed individuals living their life through that healed space. Instead, we see a lot of individuals continue to live life through the aftermath of past traumas and wounds. Today, we will be talking about grown folk stuff, taking responsibility and accountability for the part you play in your own pain, and showing you how to navigate through the pain without bringing that pain to others. So if you are ready to have this grown conversation, keep listening, because today it's all about embracing in and growing from the pain when you choose to heal.
You feel like a vacation. You feel like everything I've been wanting and waiting for. And every day I'm wanting more. Even though we had a minor slip-ups, we're never, ever, ever giving up. Got the modern Gina kind of love. Real shit that comes from above. And my friends ask me how I know that you are the one. I know you're the one. I know you're the one.
Hey, everybody.
Yo, what's up, people?
Welcome back to the Show Up and Show Out podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Today is going to be a day, y'all.
Yeah.
It's going to be a very vulnerable and probably emotional episode. And we're talking about healing.
For you or for me?
Hey, it could be both of us. I know for me, because my hormones are all over the place. So
Right.
It definitely might be me.
Right.
But today's episode is about healing. Mm-hmm. And choosing to heal is not for the faint of heart. You truly have to be ready to heal.
That's
because
right.
a big part of healing, get ready, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
It's owning up to your own shiznit.
Yes, sir.
Your own stuff.
That's right. Your own crap that you throw out there.
Exactly.
Your part
in the process,
Right.
right? What you do to contribute to whatever's going on in your life.
Right.
And that right there is a hard thing to do for
Right.
anybody.
It definitely is.
It's
Because the easiest thing
hard.
to do is blame someone else for
Exactly.
your
The
problems.
easy thing to do
That's
is blame
always
somebody
easy.
else. But the hard thing to do is take ownership for
Right.
you hurting not only other people,
But
yourself. Yeah.
Most importantly, yourself.
Most importantly, yourself. But I don't think we really see us hurting ourselves first. We usually
don't.
see ourselves hurting other people.
Right.
But if you think about it, if you really dissect it, you'll see where you hurt yourself first before you ever hurt anybody else.
This is true.
But it takes grown folk. It takes a very adult mind
Right.
and a healed mind to see that.
And we're not saying
understand
that everyone has to be an adult to heal. I mean, because, hey,
Yeah.
teenagers and kids also can learn this lesson.
Right, but it takes you to put your big girl panties and your big boy boxers on to take ownership and to see yourself
Right.
from a healed space and other people in a healed space. So this podcast is going to definitely be one to put in the books, because I think that, whenever we're talking about being accountable and, taking ownership of our own actions, that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes.
It always is. I mean, it's usually a hard pill to swallow because, for one, whatever the situation may be, you always feel like you're the person that, because it was done to you, that
right.
you don't need to let go.
Right.
When in reality, that's the only way to heal is to let go.
Right.
Because you can't begin your own process of healing until you let go. You got to let go of whatever you holding on with that person, but you also got to let go of whatever that's going on in your life.
Right.
You have to let it go.
You got to let
begin
that
to heal.
victim mode, that victim mentality
Exactly.
that we all have when something's done to us. We all have that victim mentality, and it's okay. I'm not saying it's not okay.
Excuse me.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
I'm not saying it's not okay to have that, because yes, we are the victim of other people's choices and things like that.
Right.
But then when you take it further, you then become victim to yourself,
Right.
because you keep yourself stagnant and staying in that victim place when
Right.
really you need to kind of like, in order for you to grow and move through it, you have to really dissect all the parts.
Yeah.
Because it's just not somebody else that does something for you, like healing or something to you. Healing is not finding fault or blame in someone else. Truly, healing is looking at a wound or trauma in the most rawest form, and it's seeing the person who initiated the wound, or who they really are, and for who they really are, and that is an imperfect being. Like, it truly is taking your eyes off of what was done to you, or what was
Right.
said to you,
Right.
or what situation you were placed in to make you see things or hear things or have things done to you or do to other people. All the different, and I'm not going to touch on all the different traumas because there are
Right. There's
hundreds.
so many different ways, right?
But it's being able to see see that wound, and then see whoever the person was that was in that place that you are now putting these attributing these wounds to, like putting that the fault.
Right.
It's being able to see that person as a very broken individual themselves, them being a hurt person, then putting that hurt out into the world and possibly hurting others.
Right.
They got to hurt first, though. That's again,
This is
hurt
true.
people hurt people. So
Exactly.
it's basically peeling back the layers to uncover the most uncomfortable part of healing, where you recognize that you contributed to your own pain just as much, sometimes even more, than somebody else causing you pain. And then it's taking it up a notch to take full accountability and responsibility in the part you played in your own pain. That right there.
That's the biggest part.
Oh my gosh.
That's the biggest part. Look, what a lot of people don't understand is that even though you guys don't know the details of my story,
Our story.
the only person that truly needs to know the details is my wife, because she's the one at the end of the day that has to walk the walk with me. So it's only right for me to face whatever I need to face with her, whatever pain I have to hear, whatever I don't want to hear from her, whatever anger, whatever sadness, whatever tears, sometimes, hey, it's other people have ways of releasing pain by throwing stuff at you, things of that nature. But the point is you still have to take accountability and be able to accept what you've done to that person,
Right.
and be able to try to heal from that and move on.
Right.
But you can't start healing until you learn to forgive, and then you have to forgive all the way around, whether it's forgiving the person who hurt you as well as forgiving yourself, because
Right.
again, the choices are on both sides.
And that's key, because I think people forget that they always have a choice. You always have a choice, even if the choice is extremely hard to make.
Right.
I'm going to take it back to biblical days, because this is a Christian show. But, whenever anything was placed upon anyone back in the scriptures, they always had a choice. Jesus told folk, you going to deny me.
Right.
And Peter was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. But then in the moment,
We know what happened with that.
we know what happened. Three
Right.
times he did it. And after the third time that he did it, he just cried, because you always have a choice. Now, his choice was admit that you were walking with Jesus and you're a
Right.
disciple of Jesus, or, and when you do that, you might get killed, or deny it and you'll be free. So, of course, in that moment, he's like, well, I don't want to die. So the obvious thing was he lied.
Right.
And it was probably so subconscious that he didn't even he didn't realize that he was denying Christ, just like Christ said he was going to. So, we always have a choice, even if that choice is something that we don't want to deal with.
Right.
Or the better choice, I should say, is something that we don't want to deal with. You always have a choice, no matter if someone is enticing you, tempting you, waving that little tasty treat in front of your face, you know, for you to, hey, come do this with me, blah, blah, blah. Right. You always have a choice. You can never say someone forced you, because in truth be told, you can always take the other option. Right. And it might not be great, but there's always a choice.
It truly comes down to how strong your willpower is.
Whoa, that's good. Yeah,
Are you strong enough to say no? Are you strong enough to think about the pros and the cons of whatever you about to get yourself into?
Right.
To be honest, most of us don't.
No.
We just unconsciously do whatever we
feel.
And
a lot of us do make a choice because we're afraid to hurt the other person. You know, you don't want to hurt their feelings or make them feel bad or whatever. And
you don't want to see them in an uncomfortable
So you put yourself in an uncomfortable situation and make a choice you would normally not make. Because you're trying to, you know, make sure somebody else is good.
Mm-hmm. When in reality, you're hurting yourself as well as hurting them.
Sure enough. Gosh.
So
adulting is hard, y'all. It is so hard. And these are the things that I don't think we really think about too much, which is why a lot of people make choices that they wish they had never, ever made.
Yeah. I know I do.
Right?
I know when I went through my pain, I went through it. And and every day that I was going through my pain, for the longest time I went through it, I regret all of the choices I made. Because I messed up a lot of people. I hurt a lot of family members, a lot of friends, people I loved, people I cared about, just with my lies and my manipulations.
Right.
And just, you know, not making the right choice.
Right.
And just choosing to go with whatever emotion that I felt.
Right.
Not thinking about
that's such a good point.
So that's what I went with the emotion I felt.
Right.
So,
and emotions change.
You're right.
Feelings change.
Right.
They're not the same, you know. And if you I've heard a lot of pastors and speakers say that you never make a important decision in a place of pain or hurting or feeling like high emotions, because it never will be the choice that you would make if you were actually calm. The outcome
comes
cool
out
and collected.
Very bad.
Yeah,
I mean, it
totally.
comes back to bite you.
Totally. And I think that, you know, healing is also realizing that even if someone else brought a bad idea or addiction or entanglement or downright awful decision to you or situation to you, that it's completely up to you to say yes or no, and saying no is okay.
Yeah, it's definitely okay.
You know, healing is literally putting yourself first. You know, it really, you know, selfish sometimes that word gets a bad rap, but sometimes you really need to be selfish and think about you first. You can't pour from an empty cup. No, meaning you can't pour into others' lives. You can't pour into your communities, your churches, or what have you, if you yourself are on E.
Right.
So you have to be selfish in that, right? And healing truly is taking the time out to heal from all of the traumas and wounds and things that have happened to you that are affecting your life in a negative way. Right. So you taking that time out to say no to other people's stuff and say yes to your own healing is huge.
It truly goes back to all of the trauma that you've dealt with in your life, because usually all of that trauma, depending on what it is, that's who you become as you become an adult. Everything you deal with from the time you are a little kid to become a teenager to your young adult ages, you become that person based on the things you said. So if you've seen your parents be in an abusive relationship, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be an abusive person.
Or you're going to take from that abusive relationship the other spectrum, and not be an abusive person and be completely opposite of that.
But allow yourself to be abused it's like, and take it.
Exactly.
And feel like you have to stay around for it.
It's like you can take different things from those situations you're talking about. You can either become like the person that you've seen that you don't want to be like.
Right.
You can become the opposite of that person, the person that you would like to have seen, or you can become the victim. That you saw that person inflict on someone else. There's
one way or the other, you're going to become a product of your environment.
Yes,
that's just plainly what it is.
Definitely.
You know?
Definitely.
I myself got caught up in that. I was a product of my environment, but I also had tendencies where, because I was a product of my environment, I tend to latch on to other people and understanding exactly, you know, why they are or have become the product of their environment. And so I'm sitting there trying to help them
right.
when I need to be helping myself.
Right. Right.
And so because I wasn't helping myself and spent so much time giving to them, you know, I naturally kept pulling myself into a situation that had I been helping myself, I would have been more clear to understand that, hey, this choice you're making is the wrong choice.
Right.
You can't go out here and help someone else when you can't help yourself.
Right.
And then on top of that, it's the wrong person you're choosing to help.
Right.
It's not the person you should be helping.
Right.
So
that's so true. And I'm not saying that the person bringing negativity to your life is free from the part that they played. We're not saying that. We're not saying that the people that, like Javon's not saying that the way he got involved in things he should not have been getting involved in, that he shouldn't take ownership and
take full ownership of
and responsibility
I've done.
of what he did and what he brought to other people's life.
Let me say that again.
Yes.
So it can be clear. I take full responsibility for everything I've done and to the people that I have hurt.
Right.
I've said this from the beginning of the podcast when we first started this till now. Nothing is going to change, but at the end of the day too, my pain and all the people that I hurt, we're all on the different levels of when we will and how soon or how slow we can heal. Everybody has to go through their own process.
Right.
And just because I may be healed doesn't mean another person may be healed. But at the same time, it does not mean that I did not endure my own type of pain.
Right.
Even if you haven't witnessed it with your own eyes, even if you don't feel that I'm going through it because right now things seem good and fine and dandy. No, I've gone through it. It's just that I went through it. That's why I can sit here and be happy and be able to talk about what I've done.
Right.
Because I'm in a healed place now. I'm
Right.
free. I'm happy. My wife knows every closet of all these crazy things that I have hidden. I don't need to hide nothing. Whether I stop today or whether I stopped years ago, she knows it all. Because I have to put it out there. I have no choice but to put it out there on Front Street because I'd rather tell her than before someone else tells her.
Right.
And I know the wrong I've done, and I know I'm not perfect.
And we
never
still
said
aren't
I
perfect.
was.
Nobody
Right.
is ever perfect on this
Exactly.
life. You know, but we're not saying that in your own life, you know, people that have done wrong to you, we're not saying that they do not have to take responsibility and accountability for what they've done. What we're saying is, as grown adults, we must hold ourselves accountable.
Accountable for all
I don't
our
care
actions.
if and mind you, we're talking about adults. We're
Right.
not talking about children here. We're talking about adults. When a grown adult approaches you with something that is not appropriate or an avenue that you know you shouldn't be going down, whatever that is, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's with your friends, whether it's robbing a store. I mean, whatever it is, you have to be accountable for your next step.
Right.
Just because they're waving the little dangly treat
Yep.
and they're telling you all the goodness that might come from this, you cannot do wrong and expect good to come from it at all the time.
You can't.
Or forever.
And
You
I
might
learned-
get away with it for a little
Right.
bit. You might get away with it for a lot bit. But one of these times, sorry, my words are
No,
getting,
you good.
soon enough, it will come back to you. And like you said all the time back in the day, babe, what you do in the dark will come to light. God always knows what you're doing.
Right.
Always. He is you. There's only one other person beside yourself that's with you 100% of the time, 24 hours out of the day, and that is God.
You said, remember I just said that not too long ago?
Yep. And so he knows what you're doing, and God don't like ugly. So whatever it is, even if it is a choice that you made because somebody else pressured you or coerced you or bribed you or whatever, you always have that choice.
You always do.
Always. We aren't children. Yet a lot of us adults like to act like we are children and succumb to making bad choices and then blame the other person. Well, he made me do it. You know, back in the day, Johnny made me do that. or so-and-so made me blah, blah. And my
Or-
mom used to tell me back in the day as a black mom would always say, I don't care what so-and-so told you to do, or I don't care what so-and-so's parents are telling them. I told you ABC.
Right.
She always said that no matter how many times. And so I just stopped saying it because I knew that it didn't matter if my friends were doing it. She told me not to do it. And if I did it, I had to take responsibility for that. You're about to say something, babe. My bad. What were you about to say?
No, I wasn't. I don't even remember what the thought was. But I mean, all I know is I didn't have the luxury. You know, I was always thrown into different things. I didn't have the luxury of someone trying to tell me, hey, this is right, this is wrong.
Right.
That just wasn't my life. My life, was different. Growing up in foster care, I mean, yeah, you get to a point in your life with the way my life was that, yeah, there were adults there trying to tell me things, but the one thing I wanted, and because so many bad things had been happening, I wasn't trying to hear nothing or listen to nothing. I had lost all my trust in adults, period, as a kid. So why would I trust them on telling me anything or listening to anything when they're the ones that had me in certain situations that I was in
the first place, right?
So,
yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
But again, you have to find some time, some place in your life, in your heart, in your mind to heal yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, either you want to sit there and be miserable for the rest of your life and hurt, or heal. And healing is not attacking someone else and going back after them or trying to go after the person who hurt you. That's not healing yourself.
No.
Because all you're doing is you're taking a situation and you can possibly make the situation 10 times worse. Possibly get yourself in some type of trouble behind you doing crazy stuff.
Right.
Because sometimes when you hurt, your pain tends to go into emotions or other avenues that you never knew there was in you.
Yeah, it dictates your actions.
Yeah, and you definitely, your actions without you thinking, and because you allowing your anger to take over can land you in some very, very serious trouble.
And,
with the law.
also healing too, people like to always, healing is a personal journey.
Right, it is.
It's a very personal journey, and it truly is taking the blame off of other people. It's actually being able to understand that anything that anyone ever did to you in a bad light was all because of their own hurt and brokenness.
Exactly.
Period.
I mean, and it's not an excuse.
No, it's not an excuse. It's facts.
That's just it. Exactly.
It's facts. It's not an excuse. It's facts. And I remember for me, I would always blame my father for not being the perfect dad, for not being the dad that I saw my girlfriends have, of not being there, of always being at work. He was a workaholic and he never was home. I literally would see him for a split second in the morning before he went to work, and then he would smack me on my butt at night and give me a kiss when I was asleep. That was it. And then I would see him maybe on the weekends, because on the weekends he either was going to be washing his cars,
right,
with the plural there,
right,
or playing tennis with his boys,
right.
And we really didn't have very much time. So for a very long time in my life, I blamed my father for being a crappy dad. And when I asked him about being a crappy dad, he did not see that at all. He saw himself as being the best father ever because he could provide a very good home for us. We didn't want for anything at all. And he felt like being able to provide for us in that type of manner where we did not have to want, that was him checking the dad box.
Right.
And for me, that's not how I wanted my father to be. I wasn't looking at the things we had or the toys I had or the clothes or et cetera, et cetera. I wanted him there. But when I started to heal, I started to really be able to understand that because he was a broken little boy from being, being in a poor situation with his family, that's what he always wanted to do. He thought that being a good father was providing.
Right.
And so he went to the grave thinking that maybe not, because I don't know, but
I think
my dad
he probably was thinking a little bit differently.
I think he was thinking a little bit different now that I really think about it. He had a stroke before he passed and he wasn't able to talk. And I remember looking into his eyes and seeing that he wanted to say a lot of stuff and just couldn't. So I'm going to take that back. I don't think he went to the grave feeling that. I think he knew that he had messed up. Yeah. He knew he had messed up before he passed. But I'm saying that to say that healing is being able to see a person in their broken space. Healing is not blaming.
Right.
Healing is not seeing someone and saying, well, they did this to me. They did. No, it's removing all of that and truly being able to see in a Christ-like fashion someone in their brokenness, and that they're only doing what they're doing because it was done to them, or they saw it came from their, like you said, their own environment growing up. You're about to say something, babe.
I mean, for me, I think that was a little bit different because I think my brokenness came from no one being there for me. You know, and always having to go through hard situations like foster care, you know, being abused physically, mentally, as well as sexually. I mean, for me, that's all different types of trauma.
Yeah, totally.
So it grew me up into the person I was. But I was always looking for, I didn't want to listen to adults because I felt like I couldn't trust adults because adults were the ones that was hurting me. And then for my parents, I always wanted like a family and wanted to know what love was like and wanted to know what it felt like to be loved. And because I didn't have that, that's why I was always reaching out to all these different avenues of doing, you know, this attention from this female, this attention from that female. Right. Because I wanted that attention. Right. You know, and I didn't have that attention. So me being like that product of my environment, it made me grow up to be a certain way. Now, luckily for me, I didn't take on some of those traits that traumatized me. Right. Right. You know, I'm not out here trying to physically abuse anyone and or sexually abuse anyone or anything like that. I'm trying to, you know, that's not who I am. Right. I got past that, but the trauma of going back and forth with adults because I don't want to hear what nobody has to say to me. You know, I'm tired. Look, don't tell me nothing. I'm an adult now. I ain't trying to hear nothing nobody say. Right. When in reality, even as an adult, you still have to listen to what other adults tell you sometimes. Yes. That's just the reality of the situation. That authority, right. But also, for me, having a family and love or someone loving me, I hadn't had that. You know, it was when I would talk to my dad because my mom wasn't there, he'll always be throwing my mom under the bus. Yeah. And that wasn't cool to me because I'm like, where's the ownership in what you've done? Boom. And see, what parents don't understand is sometimes when you're sitting there, you're throwing the other parent under the bus to the kid. That can backfire on you because then you're looking at you once they're getting older like, what the heck? Well, what the heck? Where's your responsibility? Either that or they start to believe that some of the things are true. Right. What I found out later on, though, is that some of the things my father was saying was true because once me and my mom reunited, she told me. But she was honest about that. And whereas with my dad, he gave me a vague kind of answer. He didn't give me the truth. Right. He just gave me what he thought he needed and pieces. Me to hear. Yeah. But my mom owned up to it. Right. And when she owned up to exactly what my dad said, I was cool. There was no need for me to hold on to it. But because of that, you know, we have a better relationship, but I also was able to forgive a whole lot easier. Whereas with my dad, I wasn't able to forgive so easy. And for the longest time, I had held on to that anger with my mom. But again, me holding on to all of that, I needed to forgive myself. And because I hadn't forgiven myself, that's why it took so long to let go of the anger. But once I was able to, I was cool. And then once I reunited with my mom, it was easy to just let it go. Once she gave me what she gave me, and I was good. Right. And forgiveness is part of that healing process. Right. It is. You know, it's a huge part of it. Forgiving you and forgiving the other person. You have to. That's a huge, and you have to truly mean it. Yeah. That means when you forgive, that means you have to let it go. Let it go. L-I-G it, like Cube would say. L-I-G it, let it go. Yeah. Like all that pain, I know it hurts. I know it's stuff that you continue to think of, but you have to find other avenues to make yourself happy. Yeah. It's not about getting back at anyone. No. It's not about, throwing them under the bus. It's not about hurting yourself. Doing that is indicative of you not healing. Right. If you're still looking to do things like that, you ain't healing. You haven't healed from it.
Yeah.
But that, you need to heal. So you don't get yourself caught up in those situations, period.
And once you heal, once you choose to heal and go through that healing journey, you will realize that healing and the healing journey and the working through things will always be a part of your life, because it's not like you one and done healing.
Right.
You heal constantly. There will be
Right.
constant things that you might think about, or things that people do to you that make you go, oh, wait a minute, why did that make me feel this way? How come I'm feeling that way?
Right.
It shouldn't make that much of a difference. And you realize that that's a trigger
Right.
to let you know that you need to heal from something. So it'll be a constant companion in your life once you've gone through the true spiritual process of healing. And it really is a spiritual process. And doing it right is allowing yourself the space to be completely honest with yourself and own your own mess ups, and then dive into the what, whys, and hows of the actions you took that weren't made out of, integrity. Because that's another thing that's huge is, remember the word integrity we talked about a few episodes back, that is doing the right thing even when no one is watching, because God is always watching.
Always watching.
So you want to have that integrity to make sure that, you are doing what is right at all costs, not for anybody else other than yourself.
Right.
And honoring your Heavenly Father. So anyway, being able to heal is truly being able to see the full picture, that clearly shows the brokenness of another person, as well as your own brokenness, and that out of that brokenness, they hurt people and themselves, and out of your brokenness, you then are hurting yourself and other people as well. So we're going to get into example time right now.
Okay.
And I'm going to go first. And, my examples are, just bear with me because I might cry, I might get emotional, because these are things that are very, they're very close to my heart. So the first is, when I chose to heal, one of the first wounds I ever healed around was not feeling good enough. And in realizing that wound, and part of what we do is core wound healing and that modality, the first thing that you do is identify the wound, and then you go, that's key one. And then key two is you're supposed to go back and figure out, where did that stem from? Meaning, where in your life did that wound or trauma, where did it come from? Because remember, when we come to this earth, we are babies and we don't have any flaws. We are completely innocent, and we only start learning things of a negative nature by our environment, by our parents, our aunts, our uncles, our siblings, things we hear on TV, your teachers, your, that type of thing, other people,
other kids.
So exactly, other
Right.
kids. So in core wound healing, when you think about the wound that you want to heal, so in my case, not feeling good enough, I then had to think about, okay, where do I remember, as early as I can remember, that I didn't feel good enough? And it brought up a memory with my dad. And we had a very, like I just kind of mentioned, we had a very dysfunctional relationship. He thought he was doing all the things, and I didn't think he was doing all the things. And funny to say, out of all of my sisters, and I have 3 sisters, I think I'm probably the one that had the longest relationship with him that was actually an okay, mediocre-ish type of relationship.
Right.
And I remember an incident, and I'm not going to go into the incident because I'm going to take too much time, but there was an incident when I was around 8 or 9 years old that I remember where he told me that I was stupid. And, you're so dumb. Like, I didn't know you were so dumb. And it was around math. I'll just say that. And that was the first time that I can go all the way back to remember, in that moment, I felt like I was not good enough. And even more so, that he didn't love me. That I had to do something to make him like me and or love me again, because he had just called me stupid and dumb. Now, when you're 8 years old, when people call you stupid and dumb, they're usually not your friends. You know what I mean? So in that childhood mind of mine, that's where it first started. And I think from that, me not feeling good enough in that moment, that's what like a whole bunch of other wounds started from that moment.
Right.
But anyway, so for a long time, I strongly disliked my father for that. And then also fast forward to when I was a teenager, I found out that he was cheating on my mom. And for some reason, I attached that to me. Like maybe he just didn't want to be around us for whatever reason. And so he was trying to, have this new family. Again, early teens, 11, 12 years old, you make up all kinds of stuff. Of course, that had nothing to do with me.
Right.
But that's kind of where it was. And I saw that whole cheating thing play out with my mom. Like I literally inserted myself in that to the point of me calling his mistress and all kinds of stuff. Like,
yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Where a child should not have been in at all.
Something as adult like that.
Right. That's an adult issue. But for some reason, I felt like I had to protect my mom. And, I inserted myself in a very grown folks issue. And I remember saying to myself in those teenage years, and it lasts, I think I was maybe 13 when everything was like over and all this other kind of stuff. But I remember saying to myself, I will never let someone do that to me. Mm-hmm. And I will never, ever, ever, ever do that to anyone else. Because I saw the hurt that my dad imposed upon my mother, which, I'm sorry, y'all, which also imposed hurt upon me and my little sister. So for many, many years, I disliked my father for what he did to our family. And, he never really apologized for it. He just kind of went on about his business and continued to do whatever it is that he was doing. But I never really understood how he could treat my mom like that and at the same time stab us in the back as his kids. Right. And start a whole new life with a whole new family. Y'all knew some of the stuff of that whole story, but that's for another podcast. But with a whole new family and not have it even affect him. To me, it looked like it did not affect him. So going through core wound healing, though, I was able to truly see him in his brokenness, like really understand that he was
that it wasn't you.
Yeah, it wasn't me, number one, that I had nothing to do with that. And number two, that he was a product of his environment.
Exactly.
His father cheated on his mother. He was the baby of his family, and he was the last one home to watch all that crap, play out.
Right.
And like we said earlier in the podcast, you either become like the person that you can't stand when you see them doing it, or you become completely opposite, or you become like a victim and people do that to you.
Exactly.
And he became his father.
Yeah. And
I think, that's just what it is. He became like what he saw. And I had to be able to see him in that broken space. And all of this, you guys, was done after my dad passed. And so I had a very emotional moment in healing of being able to forgive him, for what he did, because he just didn't know any better. I mean, it sounds like we're letting people off the hook. And I think a lot of the times when we heal and we talk about healing, people want to use that and say, well, I'm not going to let them off the hook. I'm not going to just give them a free pass to treat me however they want to treat. But honestly, people truly are broken, and they only can do what they can do.
Right.
My dad truly thought he was doing what was best. I know he didn't think the cheating was the best, but in his own pain, which I don't know what that is because I have not had an opportunity to talk to him about that, and I won't. But in his own pain, that's what he turned to because he saw it as a little boy. Right. That's what he turned to. He needed attention. He needed whatever.
Right.
And that's what he turned to. Just like some people turn to alcohol or drugs or working constantly or whatever the case may be. That's what he turned to. And me being able to peel back those layers and see that he did all that he did out of his own emotional and mental pain was extremely healing for me, because it then let me off the hook for thinking that I had something to do with that,
Right.
that it was my fault.
Right.
That's what healing, can do for you. And it's painful going through all that process. It's painful having to go through all those memories and dissect things or what have you. But it truly is so helpful. And when you are in that pain, sometimes you do things that you never thought that you would do. I'm sure my dad didn't think he would be doing that when he saw it done to his mother. But that's sometimes what happens. I'm going to stop there and see if you have any point that you wanted to make, babe, because then I have another example that I want to share.
No, go into your next example.
Okay.
Right.
So this next example is a me story. And it's something that I have never shared publicly. Not that I even have to do that now, but I want to show you what healing can do. And I also want to show you that I too have been in a situation where I rationalized my feelings and hurt people in a way that I thought I never would hurt people. So going back to when I was about 25 years old, I was married to my first husband. Our daughter was about 3 or 4 years old. I had an affair. I know you probably are like, what? Yes, I had an affair. It was a long distance affair on the internet. A friend of mine from college, and when I say the internet, I'm going back to the days of AOL and dial-up service. So
Right.
It was way back in the day. And I was in a very hurt space in my marriage. I remember...
I mean, an affair is an affair. So
An
just
affair is
let it
affair
be
is
known
affair.
It wasn't a sexual type of affair.
No, but it still was an affair.
Fair, right.
But I do remember rationalizing to myself that it was okay because I was unhappy and I wasn't receiving the love and affection that I thought I deserved. And I suspected that my husband at the time was also already cheating on me. So, that whole, if he's doing it, then why, I can do it type of thing. And it went totally against the promise that I gave myself when I was a teenager, when I said I would never, ever, ever, ever do that to anyone else, and never, ever, ever, put myself in a situation where I would receive something like that. So here I was doing the former, doing this to someone else, cheating on someone, the emails back and forth, the AOL chat. Y'all remember the AOL chat? Y'all old enough to remember that? But the AOL chats and all that, I was doing all of that to make myself feel good, to feel loved, to feel wanted, to have the attention that I wasn't getting at home. And it did, even with me doing it, of course, when you're doing it, you're in the moment, right? But when I wasn't in the moment, I felt awful.
Right.
And I remember feeling so guilty that I was doing that. But I continued because the high of me feeling good in that space when I was having all that attention, and it was good attention, and I was feeling good about myself and confident, even though the person wasn't even here. Like I'm saying, this is long distance. This is all emails and chats and things of that nature. It still made me feel loved and wanted in a way that I did not feel coming from my marriage, from the man that was standing right there in front of me. And so that back and forth went, that tug of war went back and forth for a while there in my life with that whole thing. And then finally, I just couldn't take the whisperings of the still small voice basically telling me what a awful human being I was, doing what I was doing, being an absolute hypocrite, knowing what type of pain this causes, seeing it from my own eyes, watching my mom go through it. And here I was doing that because I don't care if it's physical or non-physical, a lot of people will sit there and say, oh, texting is in the mix, but texting and emailing and all that is not the same thing. And it's not the exact same thing, but the emotions are there. And sometimes I beg to differ and think that emotional cheating is worse than sometimes the physical cheating, because
it can be
emotional. You're pining for that person, thinking about that person in every moment.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
The only thing you haven't done is touch them physically.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, it was really hard for me. And so at that time, I was like, you know what? I have to be done with this. So I ended it. I got rid of all of my emails. I did not speak to the person anymore. And not speaking to that person actually meant not speaking to a whole group of friends, because we were all friends from college. And I did not want to talk to any of them. One, because I was extremely ashamed of what I had done. But two, I didn't want to, when you're in the same company of people, you can sometimes get back to doing the same thing that you used to be doing.
Yep.
So for me, I was like, you know what? I am going to just write off everybody. And I ended it and stopped talking to everybody. And for 2 years, it was gravy. I went back to doing what I was supposed to be doing. I was going back to church. I was doing all the things that I should have been doing up before, making sure that even though I was still unhappy in my marriage, I was still there trying to work things through, trying to be able to be a good wife, etc. And all of a sudden, I received a call, and the person that I had the affair with told me that his wife found all of his emails that he had kept. Not sure why he kept them, but kept from all of our conversations, and she knew. Mind you, his wife was also part of that friend group. So literally, I was doing this, cheating with my friend's husband. We were all friends, which was absolutely gut-wrenching when I really think about it. And so at that time, I knew that I had to come clean. And so I told my husband, I made sure that I went through the official repentance process. I had gone through my own repentance process, but I went through an official repentance process and went to my bishop, because if you are a child of God, this is what I know. If you're a child of God trying to and striving to do what's right, God will always have you right your wrongs. And he will always have you bring the darkness into the light.
Yep.
Always. I don't care how long you might think that everything's cool. And I was doing right. I was doing right for those 2 years. But I still had that dark thing sitting in my closet that I truly had not repented of. And I think that,
but do you feel like to me, I look at that, I guess you can look at that two ways, because I feel like you could have let it go because of the simple fact you moved on and did what you were supposed to do. It was the other person who decided to hold on.
You are exactly right. But I think, and I felt that way at first when that first happened.
That's not your fault.
Well, no, it's not. But I should have done it the right way, because I should have come clean to my husband back then of what I had done.
So you had to come clean once he found that out.
Right. Once all that.
So the 2 years you stopped. And
the 2 years. Yeah, the 2 years I stopped and hadn't done anything. Didn't say anything. I acted like. That was wrong.
Yeah.
I acted like I was like, well, if I can just get back to doing what I'm supposed to be doing, then I don't have to share it because I'm done.
It's like you trying to hide it without.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. And so when you do things like that, God's gonna always be like, nah, bruh. You gotta bring you. I was gonna say,
I know that. Hey,
bring it to the forefront, bruh.
I know that better than anyone. As much as I have lied to my wife and tried to cover stuff up and make all these stories up and things.
And y'all,
like that.
He had some elaborate, stories.
So I definitely know how that one is. And she's right. What you do in the dark and you come to light. So sometimes too, when you also have to heal, you have to heal and understand that sometimes you have to cut people off completely.
And that's exactly what I had to do. And like I said, it wasn't just him. It was him, his wife, who also was my friend, and like 8 other people. that I had to cut off, and they had no clue why I stopped talking to them. But I knew that they were in connection with that person, and I just did not want to go backwards once I had gone
especially
forwards.
when you healing, you have to, because when you're trying to heal, you have to let go of all of the negative things, all the things that pull you down to making the wrong choices. So you have to let go of people around you, and they are not going to be happy about it. They're not going to like it. They're going to play this blame game. It's your fault, blah, 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 blah. But you know what? How long are you to sit there in that misery?
Right.
Like, I can't sit here and jump through hoops. I said hoops. Through hoops for someone else because they're miserable. I'm healing. I'm choosing to heal.
Right.
I'm choosing to take my life back and my freedom and be free for myself so I can be in peace.
Right.
Not to sit there and dwell on things I've done.
Right.
People can change.
Yes.
Understand this. People can change. No, I am not perfect, but my wife is the one person since I have moved and left from where I used to be who has continuously seen me change. At the same time, seeing me, constantly go through things where I've had to just bleed all this pain that was in me out and tell her things I didn't want to tell her, have her see things that I didn't want her to see, go to my bishop for repentance. I'm doing these things and I have done these things, and so this is how I can get on here and speak freely and be okay, because I'm actually at peace. No matter who still holds me accountable for something, you can hold on to it all you want, but at the end of the day, I've forgiven myself. I'm out here talking about my peace. I'm out here putting myself out there.
Right.
Ain't nobody else. I could have not say anything.
Right.
In the beginning, we could not be having this podcast at all.
Right.
If I chose to not be that way. But I'm choosing to be transparent. Am I guilty for a lot of things? Hell yeah, I am. I know I am.
Yeah.
I never said I was perfect. I'm not sitting across from this woman trying to make it seem like I'm perfect.
Not this woman.
That way you not saying it like that. This woman from my wife. I'm not sitting across from her trying to make up some scheme and this and that, because she's the one person, no matter what I do, when I try to tell a lie about something or not, or in my mind, it may not be a lie. In my mind, it may be like, hey, I just don't want you to know because I don't want to hurt you. Nah. That's still going to come out to her. So I have no choice but to speak up and say things, because I know there's things out there that people could say about me. So it's better for her to hear it from me than to hear it from them. So by the time they throw it at me the way that people have tried to do that, my wife already knows.
Oh, yeah.
And they playing themselves.
Yeah.
They're not playing me.
Right.
When you try to hurt people, especially when they're trying to go through the process of healing and you're still trying to dominate them and keep them down because you're down, that will backfire.
Yeah.
Trust and believe. I've been in the most miserable state a lot of times because I held on to a lot of hatred, and that hatred has kept me in such pain.
Yeah. And it keeps you stagnant.
Right. And you make the wrong choices, and people don't realize you still running around in the same circle because, again, you're a product of your environment. So you have to make a choice to stop going around in that circle, forgive that person, forgive yourself. You ain't got to like them. You ain't got to ever speak to them again. You ain't got to do nothing. But you got to forgive and keep moving on, because the more you sit there thinking about them and dwelling on them, you ain't hurting nobody but yourself.
And let me tell you, like, even from that situation that happened to me that I never thought I would ever do. I mean, never thought I would ever do. Never thought I would be in. I learned that moment changed my life forever. Right. Because from that moment, I was able to live my life in a way where I made sure that I really took a pause before I made decisions, that I really looked at what is going to come from this decision I'm about to make, this choice I'm about to make. Who is this going to hurt? Is it going to hurt me? Is it going to hurt this person? I mean, your choices they don't just stay with you. You know, a lot of the times they affect other people. And I always wanted, after that whole thing was over, I wanted to be a woman of integrity. I wanted to be able to know that I was doing right even when no one was looking, and even though God was looking.
I know that's who I am now. Definitely.
Yes.
I mean, I had to learn that the hard way. I mean, it was, you guys really don't know. It was tough for me.
Extremely.
This woman, my wife, this beautiful woman across me, knows the pain that I put myself through. And again, because I'm really hard on myself. I'm 10 times harder on myself than anyone else could ever be hard on me. That's what people don't know. If you know me, you know I'm hard on myself. But that's again, it's because I want to be a better person. That's why I'm so hard on myself. I've always wanted to be better or be in a better situation.
Exactly. And I think sometimes, we have to realize that, you never want to be that selfish of a person that you in your own pain would inflict pain upon somebody else or pull somebody else into a situation where they're going to be hurt. And I think that that's something that, healing helps you to see. It helps to really bring a huge light to stuff like that. Puts up those red flags of, wait a minute, if you do this right here might happen. If you do that right there might happen. And healing also allows you to see other people in that broken state. So you can also make better choices and also know how to move, if you will, or operate around certain people, or if you should even be around certain people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, it really does allow you, like we say all the time now, we don't want to have bad and negative energy around us. And sometimes that means not being around people, including family members,
cutting them out,
that bring negativity.
Yep, cutting them off, cutting them out. You just don't have time to deal with it. I can love you from afar.
There you go.
I don't have to be near you. I
and
don't
like
have
we
to
said,
talk to you.
that's right.
I don't have to deal with you. Like, I'm not going to deal with that. Our life is predicated on us having nothing but the utmost respect, loyalty, faith, honoring each other, and just the most positive energy that we possibly can have. We've gone through a lot of negativity, both of us in our lives combined together.
Yeah.
We're tired. We don't want that no more. And we're making sure that we do everything possible to not have that no more. And we're going to move forward. No matter how many people may want to keep us down, you're not going to keep us down. Life does move on. 2-3 years go by, life moves on. That's just what it is. You can't trying to take people down and take others down and you're not realizing sometimes, because you're not healed from your hurt. You're trying to hurt one person, but you're hurting several people in the process.
Right.
Not only that person, but you're hurting several other people who had nothing to do with it.
And you're hurting yourself.
Exactly. Most importantly,
you're keeping yourself in that pain when you truly can be free from it. And that's the powerful thing about healing. It truly allows you to move from the painful parts of what you have experienced in your life, what you have brought to your life, and being able to move from that into a healed, free, peaceful place that you then are selfish. Like I said before, healing makes you selfish because you don't want to bring and invite negativity to you once you've started that healing journey.
Unless you like it. If you like it, then more power to you.
If you like it, you ain't healed.
More power to you. Because at
that's
some point
not a
in your
healed
life,
person.
At some point in your life, all of the things that you think are right because you're getting away with them, they're not right.
Oh, that's
and
so
trust
powerful.
me, they will come back to bite you. I know this. I'm living and breathing.
I know that.
I'm a living, breathing
experience.
Testimony of this. I know this. Yeah. Everything I've done has come back to bite me and bite me hard because I made the wrong choices. Me cheating on my wife was a product of my environment because I saw my dad around plenty of women. So I relished in my daggone self.
And that's something that I think that's a whole nother topic because we need to really unpack that. Just about, seeing and being around that and how cheating and, for men, especially black men, it's kind of expected for you guys to be juggling multiple women and it's okay. And if you have one woman, then it's like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like I've seen that on plenty old movies. Like,
Right.
dude, you whipped.
And
you know,
then-
why
and
are you with one woman?
Right. And that, like I
type
said,
of
that'll
thing.
be another episode.
Yeah,
'cause
another
in some
episode.
cases, like nowadays, it's a little bit different. But for the most part, when my era growing up, it was that was the most
that was the
thing.
yeah that was the
be.
thought process. But you guys, we don't want this thing to be ridiculously long, but this is a really important topic of healing. And I think if more people would allow themselves to really, really dive into a healing journey for themselves, which means you are inviting pain into that process. You cannot heal without diving into and experiencing and inviting pain. Like through the core wound healing modality that I'm certified in and that we help other couples with,
Right.
we say to them, these first 3 keys, meaning these first 3 steps, are going to be a doozy.
Mm-hmm.
You not going to be in a good headspace. You're going to be thinking about things you rather not think about, going back to issues and memories that you rather forget. You're going to have to be in that pain and kind of dissect it.
Right.
And also then see where you played a part in it. What did you do to continue in the pain? What did you accept? What did you agree to, knowing full well that when you made the choice to get into whatever you got into, that it was not good? Sometimes we make those choices just because at the moment it feels good. Sometimes we make those choices because we think in the moment, oh, well, feels good and maybe I can change this and it'll be good. Ain't nothing good that you start off with it being bad. God does not like ugly. And that's something that I have learned, like even with me trying to, fix my issue and make everything perfect again. And, putting aside what I had done for 2 years, I was doing absolutely everything I should have done. God still does not like ugly, and ugly is not being truthful. And there are things that, you just have to be able to bring out and get through the pain. I always would tell our kids, go through the pain once. Go through the pain once. Tell me the truth. Get it all out in the open. Let's work this thing out. And then you don't have to revisit it again. And that's kind of how healing is. It's going through that pain, breaking it all down, dissecting it, figuring out where you played a part and bringing on your own pain to yourself.
Yeah. And no matter how scary it is, because trust me, like going through that pain is very scary, especially if you know that you're the one that caused the pain and you don't want to lose someone. It's scary. It's definitely scary because at the end of the day, you have a say so in whether you stay with them, but you actually don't have a say so, because even though you may want to stay with them, they may not want to stay with you. They may still go through the pain, but and then you have people again who choose to fight together. And fighting together shows, it shows and it opens up another avenue of how deep the love that you have for one another. And marriage is true what they say, through sickness, pain, and health. I mean, literally, they mean that. It doesn't make a difference. You're supposed to. That's how marriage grows and build, because you have to go through hurt in order to become stronger.
Right.
If you always have a situation where things are good, and you don't ever experience anything bad, then it's not saying that you don't love each other. It's just that your love can be even stronger than that.
Right.
And it's not even always about pain. Sometimes it could be your strength could be how happy it is. A happy situation to make your love stronger. But I just want to end with saying this. On my end, that peace you get from being free of the mistakes you've made in your past is such an amazing feeling.
Yes, it is.
It's really an amazing feeling.
Yes, it is.
The only downside is that some people will still try to hold you to be the person you used to be.
Right.
And sometimes they can wreak havoc on the peace you found.
True.
But what the key is to remember is, if you find in yourself this spot it's not you, that it's a them problem.
It's a them problem. Yep.
Because if you're finding your peace and you're trying to do everything you do to rectify your mistakes, and they still want to hold on to that is not on you. That has become on them, especially if you have been remorseful to the person that you need to be forgiven from.
And that shows you too that they haven't healed.
Right, exactly.
You know, again, they need to find their own healing journey if they're sitting there still trying to pull you down.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
So I know that might sound harsh, but when you have healed and moved on with your life, you know, the folks still talking about what you did before you healed and changed is a sign that they themselves need to start their own healing journey. Mm-hmm. We all know that saying misery loves company, which we do. We definitely know that saying.
Yeah.
So when someone is hating on your healing and spiritual growth and chastising you for doing what's right, exactly, for you and your family, then they clearly should just jump on that healing train to find their own peace.
Yes, Lord.
That's just basically what it is.
Yes, Lord.
They can heal too.
Yep.
Because you can't be happy in your life until you heal.
So true.
At the end of the day,
so true.
Everything that I have done, God knew I was going to do it, and he knew how I was going to come out of it. But he's still the person that I got to face and answer to first.
And it's still your choice.
Right. It's still my choice.
It always was your choice.
And that's how I move now. Whatever decisions, if something's about to happen, my first thought is, you know what, at the end of the day, even though my wife can't see me, God know it. I never used to think about that.
That's so true.
But I think about that all the time. Not that I'm putting myself in those situations. I really don't put myself in any situation now, because I truly try to wake up and have a very positive, energetic day and love my family and not take what I have with my family for granted. I don't take life for granted no more. I don't take anything for granted. I live in every moment. I live in the present, as well as I look forward to my future.
Right.
And that's what it's about, because I have healed, because I am happy. And then of course I'm so at a point of loving myself and loving my family that, you know, I still got people who trying to come at me a certain way. But you know what? At the end of the day,
always have that.
At the end of the day, I'm answering to the two people I need to. Mm-hmm. Heavenly Father and my wife. Mm-hmm. That's the only people I need to answer to. I don't have to answer for anything to anyone. Right. As long as this person across from me knows everything I did, because I have no choice but to. Because again, it's true for me. What you do in the dark will come to light. It always comes to light for me. So me now too. I don't have no choice but to put it out there. That's right. I'm always, because I truly have to protect myself. I can't sit there and allow myself to be in that situation no more. Right.
And it's funny because, and this will be our last. I know we keep saying we're going to end this, but y'all, this is deep. But whenever you start something like a healing journey, just beware that the enemy is going to try you. Yes. He is going to try you even more. So just make sure that you are diligent in your commitment to healing, diligent in your commitment to doing what God wants you to do. Right. Because I've never seen him, God that is, lose a battle yet. Never. Never has he lost a battle. So if you've got him fighting for you, you just got to be still. Let him do all the work. You got to
have that faith and believe.
Just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing.
You truly got to have that faith and believe that. And I'm going to say this one little ditty. What was my train of thought?
Did you forget?
I hate when I do that. No. This is what it is. At the end of the day, you cannot force someone else to stay in misery and pain, because you are. You just can't. You cannot do that.
That's true.
You cannot be mad at them because they are moving on with their life. You cannot. Sound like we're about to have a sandstorm,
y'all. I'm like, that's not the wolf whistling. That's not the wolf.
If you hear that
whistling out the window,
and it gets like that because we get gearing towards monsoon season. But again, you can't force someone else to be unhappy because you're unhappy. You have to find happiness within yourself. Yes, go find your happiness. Yes. What makes you happy? Because trying to dog someone else out and force them to be miserable, and just because you weren't able to see the pain they went through, that has nothing to do with you. Right. You have to focus on you and live your life for yourself. Yes. Retaliation in any form it's not something that we should be doing out here.
And it's not godlike.
It's not godlike at all. And being a bully in any form will come back to bite you.
Always.
It always does.
And again, that's done out of pain.
Right.
That's done out of not being healed.
Right.
Don't allow yourself to not heal just because you're
Right.
afraid of what other people might do. Don't allow
Right.
yourself to stop doing what you know is right for you and your family because you're afraid of what other people might say and or do because you're doing right. Sometimes when people aren't healed, they get mad when they see you changing.
Right.
The
They
friends
wanna
are like,
keep you
oh,
down.
dude, why you different? How come you ain't? No,
Right. They wanna keep you
no.
down.
I'm changing.
Right.
I'm doing what I need to do. If
better
you're
my
not there
life.
yet, that's okay.
Right.
But don't bring me down because you see me doing something you can't do right now.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And it simply boils down to that. Pain loves to have more pain. People that are miserable love to bring other people into their misery. But healing is the key.
Healing
and
is
I'm
the
not
key.
saying you won't feel pain.
Yep.
But when you get over
Through it,
that, the latter part of those steps to your
the
healing,
happiness is so much greater.
Yes, Lord.
I mean, it really is that energy that you're bringing in. All of the things that you are wishing or trying to do, it's like an abundance of light just beaming
it's like
at you.
it's like a weight lifted off of you
It
when
is.
you have let that stuff
It
go
truly is.
in a good way, in a positive way, where you're not holding on to negativity and still blame and guilt and all of the bad.
Right.
So that's our podcast for today, y'all. We
Yep,
hope
yep.
that it has reached those that it is intended to reach and helped you guys understand how important healing truly is, and that if you do it the right way, if you do it in a spiritual way, it will change your life for the rest of your life in a
truly
very
will.
positive way. So that's it. Any last thoughts, babe? We good?
No, we good. We
Y'all,
about
oh my
to-
gosh, we about to shut down
You hear
because
that
we're
whistle?
about to
Yeah,
get
that sucker
this
is
freaking
serious.
sandstorm. Okay,
I love the sandstorms, but
so anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your day, night,
That's
whenever
right.
you're listening to this,
be
and
blessed,
catch us
be
on the next.
energized.
There you go.
Hey, heal.
Heal,
Do whatever
y'all.
you need
Heal.
to heal.
Heal.
Let go of the hate. Let go of the pain and heal and rejuvenate your life and focus on you.
And let your
When you
happiness
focus on
come
your
from
happiness
within.
and what makes you truly happy. You can let go of all the other stuff, and you got to forgive.
And
forgive and let
well,
go.
that's part of the healing process.
Forgiving and letting go.
Part of the healing process. But we
L-I-G
love
it.
y'all.
That's
We
right.
love y'all. Thank you for listening and showing up to the Show Out and Show Out podcast.
That's right.
We out.
Peace out.
Diamonds, they see us shining. Yeah. Hashtag couple goals. Catch us on the gram, we hopping island. Don't care what the